Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the Sippin' on Stories podcast. I'm Mandy Corey, your host. I'm so delighted that you're here listening to this episode with me today. I am not going to do actually too much of an intro today, and I'm just going to get right to the episode. For my guest today, have Allie. And I was thinking about this, and I wasn't actually planning to do like a whole this is this person and this is how I know them. But so far I've done that on, I think, every episode. And I know myself well enough to just know that I have to give you any kind of detail that I don't need to tell, but I'm going to anyway. And that happens to be letting everybody know exactly how I know or how I don't know a person that I'm interviewing. So we have Allie today on the podcast. I don't know if I've ever spoken to Allie before. And this was a really cool conversation for me. I was really grateful that she was willing to talk to me about her experience. She became addicted to pain meds, and she got introduced to them fairly young. And yeah, so she just kind of tells her story, her journey of addiction and going to rehab and just coming out on the other side. And yeah, it was a really just good conversation. I'm grateful for her for sharing it with us, and I just really like talking to her. And it made me kind of sad that we never interacted in our high school days, which is where we would have, because we knew a lot of the same people. She does mention in the episode being raised in the church and talking about the word of wisdom, and as I'm sure you have picked up in previous episodes, a lot of people that I grew up around and know are members or have previously been members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so in this episode, that's the church that she's referring to. If you don't know what the word of wisdom is, it refers to just kind of guidelines that the church teaches to try and help keep you healthy. And that includes drinking and drugs and not partaking in those things. And so just in case you're not familiar with the word of wisdom or haven't picked up on the church that has been referred to in many episodes so far in this podcast, that is what she's talking about. So here is Allie for today's episode of the Sippin' on Stories podcast.
I'm like in my room on the floor.
Well, I'm on the floor too, so
Hiding from my kids.
And can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. You sound great. Have you listened to any of the episodes on this podcast?
No, I should have. I was thinking that earlier. I was like, why didn't I listen to any of her episodes?
Well, that's okay.
Before that.
But I was going to tell you, because I'm like, if you haven't listened, if you had, then you would know. But I like to ask all of my guests what their favorite drink is. And so what is yours?
I feel like I'm kind of addicted to Alani drinks, the energy drinks, an unhealthy addiction.
I've never tried them. I'm worried that if I do, I will become addicted.
Yeah, they're so good. And then I also have an addiction to the pink Propel packets. They're like I always put them in my water. Yeah. Yeah, I can't not drink my water without Propel packets.
I can't. Well, I use the liquid IV because I'm like, I can't drink water plain. Yeah. Like, I cannot do it. I try, but it's disgusting.
Ever since I was pregnant, I changed. I can't do it. I don't know. Weird. But
does the water in London taste bad?
Yes, it does. And bottled water is kind of expensive because they're very eco-friendly here. So I'm like,
gotta use the Propel then.
I'm just gonna use the packets. Yes.
Do you want to be anonymous for this, or are you okay using your name?
Oh no, I don't care.
Okay.
I'm past that point.
I assumed so. I'm like, you're so open that I assumed that you'd be okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to let you just start. I want to know like how you got into it, like just pretty much the whole journey from where it started to where you are now.
Okay. Okay. So I feel like growing up in the church is like a big part of my story, not in like not in a negative way, but like the culture of it, I feel like plays into it a lot. So hopefully that's okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I feel like I'll just start with what made me start using. My parents always had just like a cabinet full of medicine. And I think that it was like a thing where you just like don't get rid of it.
Like the pain meds or something?
Yeah, well, just anything and everything. They just kept everything, like medicine hoarders or something. You just like, in case you need it in the future. And so my parents just had a full medicine cabinet, and there was tons of pain meds in there from different surgeries. And I feel like it was kind of like the height of when pain meds were like popular, and people didn't really know that there was like a downside. And so that had always been in my house growing up, but I never noticed until I noticed. So I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and that was the first time I had ever had pain meds. I was like, I don't know, maybe like 16. And I remember just feeling really relaxed, but it wasn't like, oh, this is awesome, I should do it all the time. It was just like, oh yeah, this is nice. Like, I'll just sleep all day. This feels good, And then I remember having really bad period cramps growing up, and my mom would give me meds for that. And I think every time I used in the back of my head, like took them, even though it was like for a reason, I think in the back of my head it was, oh yeah, I can take these and I'll feel nice type of deal.
Yeah.
But not to the point where I was like, I love pain meds. It was just like, oh, this will make me feel good. I was dating a kid at the time who had a problem with addiction, but he didn't really know it.
Like to meds or?
To meds, yes. He was addicted to pain meds. And I remember I had some pills left over from my wisdom teeth, and he was like, can I have these? And that was the first time that I was kind of like, I feel like I was kind of innocent before then. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, this is weird, but okay.
Did you know that he had an addiction at that point?
Yeah, but I don't think he knew. Yeah. I think it was like, I think it was just like, oh, like people who drink, right? It's like, oh, I just like drink once in a while. It's like not a big deal. Especially growing up in the church, I feel like, oh, we're not like breaking the word of wisdom, even though we were.
You're just taking a pain med. Oh.
So it's like, and it's like, we're not paying for it or anything. Like, it's just like there in our kitchen cabinet, so it's like not, we're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And then it just progressed from there. I started working at Converges. Do you remember Converges?
The call center?
It was, yeah. Worst job ever.
My mom always told my brothers to work there. She's like, they pay really good. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah. I mean, if you work the whole, like, 24 hours in a day. Anyways, so I started working there, and I remember getting bad cramps, so sometimes I would take pain meds. And looking back on it, I'm like, I probably could have just taken ibuprofen and hurt a little bit, but like I said, I honestly didn't think that I was doing anything wrong. And I remember it made me more friendly and open and happier to like talk to the customers and not as bored. And so it started becoming like a regular thing. And still I had no idea that I had a problem. And then the same kid that I was dating, I went over to his house, and he was like, I know you really like how, it was hydrocodone was the thing that I was taking. And he's like, I know you really like these hydros, but I have something stronger that I think you'll really love. And I don't think that he even meant any ill intent. I think it was just like, I'm hanging out with my girlfriend and want to have extra fun. And so he introduced me to Oxy. The first couple of times I took it, I remember being like, no, this just makes me want to sleep. This is weird. Still didn't think that it was a huge deal. It wasn't like, oh, this is wrong. It's weird. It's weird looking back on that and not thinking that it was wrong.
I feel like the progression of it. I mean, it's just like little things.
Right. And it wasn't like, well, I wasn't buying it. I think he was, but I didn't know that. I was pretty innocent.
Did you say you were still like around 16?
This had progressed over a few years. Okay. So I was like around 16 when like the wisdom teeth and stuff happened. And then this was more around like 18 because I had just graduated and was working when I worked at Converges. Sorry, I should be better with the timeline. Oh, okay. So 18 is kind of when it started progressing like hardcore. Okay. But I think that I always had the memories in my head of my wisdom teeth and like cramps, right? Like taking it and feeling good. And so almost looking forward to being able to take it, but not abusing it yet, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say, if that makes sense. But yeah, so he introduced me to Oxy, and I remember we took it every day for like a week. And I was also working at Jamba Juice. And one of my friends worked there with me, and one day I was like so sick, and I was like, I think I need to go home. I'm feeling so sick, like the flu. And this kid that I worked with kind of knew that I had been taking Oxy. He's like, I think you're withdrawing. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, like that's crazy. And I was like sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am. Still didn't think I had a problem. Just was like, oh, it's like when people drink a lot, and I just need to like slow it down or stop taking it or whatever.
Because had it been like a day that you hadn't taken it? Is that?
Yeah, I had been just a day, just like that day, which I'd never withdrawn before from anything. So I didn't know, I didn't know you hear. And I feel like for me, when I would think of addiction, I would think of like gross people that are homeless and like have scars and stuff all over their face and just like super gross people, right? Yeah. Like, not that there's anything wrong with them. They have, they're fighting whatever they're fighting.
But that's still the vision you kind of have in your head of those,
right? Like
those people.
You think of like the movies, right? Yeah. And so like, I'm like this, little Mormon girl from Idaho, and I'm just like, that's not me. I'm, like I can function. I have a job. I'm like in college. I was going to ISU at the time. I went to like, I don't know, a year, maybe. Then it stopped. Anyways, it's a whole nother story. But I just thought, I'm functioning. It's like not that big of a deal, but I need to like slow down if this is what's making me feel bad, right? Well, day 2 of feeling that crappy, I was like, no, I can't. It's like, it's bad. It's such a horrible feeling. It's like you're sick, but way worse. And so I like called the kid that I was dating and was like, I need something to like help me. And I feel like that's when it was like all downhill from there. But I still didn't think that I had a problem. I would have been like, no, I'm not an addict. Fast forward probably like a year of trying to stop, but also wasting all my money that I had saved. I saved like thousands of dollars lawn mowing growing up. That was supposed to be for like college and stuff. I blew through all of that like so fast.
Just paying your boyfriend for what he was buying, or were you finding it on your own?
Yeah, and at that point I had people that I was calling too. Like it got to a certain point that if he couldn't get any or if he was gone, there was a point where he moved away for a little bit. So but they were like friends, right? Yeah. They were friends. They weren't drug dealers. They were just like people that I would party with sometimes. And so I would talk to them. A lot of them were religious. A lot of them were in the church. And so it just didn't seem, it didn't seem
like it was that bad.
Yeah. Which is crazy to say.
Makes sense, though.
But yeah. And then I remember this one night, the kid I was dating, I would say his name, but I don't, it's not my story.
And if you accidentally say their name too, I'll edit out anything that you say.
Yeah. And it's not his fault that I just want to throw that in there, that it's on me, and he was lost as well. And he, despite everything, was a good guy, and he tried his best. He ended up dying from it. Which is a whole thing, but
I think I might know who you're talking about, but
yeah, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's on me. Anyways, we're going through it together, I feel like. But he started using needles, and I was like super against it, because I feel like that was kind of where there was this line to where I was like, that seems like actual drug use,
That's more like the things I see in TV, television.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Exactly. And I remember being like, well, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to do it, thinking that it would stop him. Mm-hmm. And at first he was just so far into addiction. I feel like he was a little further along than I was, even though I was in it too, but maybe more experienced is the right word. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But anyways, he at first tried to stop me, and then he's like, well, if you're going to do it, just let me do it, so you do it the right way. And that, I feel like, changed the game. And then it was just, I was using it every day, all day, as much as I could.
How many people in your life knew or had an inkling that this was happening? Like your family, did they know? Or was it?
No, because probably a year-ish of hardcore using, my family had an intervention. I don't think they knew. There were some people that we went to high school with and stuff that I think kind of knew, just because they, it's a small town. Yeah. People talk, people that we were buying stuff from, which is crazy. The places that certain drug dealers in Pocatello would go to get drugs to bring them into it's like this whole thing. It's like complex, and
like, what do they do?
It's nuts.
I'm curious.
Well, there was this one guy, he was probably our main guy, a lot of people's main guy in Pocatello, specifically for Oxycontin, I think. Mm-hmm. And Xanax. He sold Xanax, and he would go to Vegas once a month, and he had a doctor there that he would pay off, and he would go see 3 other doctors too, and get prescriptions for 5 different pain meds, and bring them back and sell them.
Wow, that's interesting.
Which is insane. Yeah. I'm like,
and who is this doctor?
Because the doctor's yeah. And he would be like, I have back pain. I think it's probably harder now. I don't know. It seems like
it's a lot more known.
They put limits on things, mm-hmm. But yeah, at that time, he would buy a plane ticket, get all of his drugs, come back and sell them, and what he made would pay for the plane tickets, for his rent. He wasn't working or anything. Oh, yeah. It was, and he was using. So I don't even know how much he was making. But
well, and I feel like in a town like Pocatello, I mean, I know nothing, but I would assume there probably isn't a ton of people to go to. So he probably had very lucrative business.
He was well known. Mm-hmm. He was it was like an MLM, right? He was
Join my team.
Guy. sell it to people and they would sell it. Yeah, seriously. They would like have like code names and they would send out mass texts that were like, we have blues, they would call them, if you want any, you know. So like people couldn't, I don't thinking they're like so smart.
Yeah.
All of us were thinking we're so smart.
Secretive.
You know, no one can, yeah, but so stupid. Anyway, so yeah, it was like pretty hardcore, and I wonder, I think my parents just didn't have any experience with it. And didn't really know what to look out for. Like, why would you if you haven't been through it?
Were you living at home?
I was living at home, and I was withdrawing a lot because it's expensive, you know? Yeah. And so I think now, if like knowing what they know now, if it were back then, they would be like, I know what's happening, right? But I don't know. I hid it kind of well, I guess. They didn't really know what to look for, and I was using a ton, so it's not like I was withdrawing a lot. I tried to stop. There was so many times where I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
And was the guilt just like so heavy? I can imagine like
the
being in the
so
church,
heavy.
Like, I don't know. I can imagine the guilt was bad.
Yeah, I think I was like, I can't ever tell anybody about this. That was my thing. Like, I can't talk to my family about this because they'll never look at me the same. And so even if I do get clean and go back to church, I can't confess everything because I don't want anybody to know. And so like, there's no way I'm making it to heaven. There's no way I'll ever be good enough. And I just have to accept that. And so then that plus like feeling crappy, right? And I would just use again because it totally takes away that feeling for a little bit, at least, you know?
So you said your family like a year in did an intervention. What made them do that?
Yeah. So somebody that I had gone to high school and played sports with told my sister. She's like, I think this is what's happening. And at the time I was so mad.
Oh yeah.
How
dare you?
You do not know me. Yeah, you're in my business. Now I'm grateful because yeah, that was crazy. So they were like, we need to talk to you. They sit me down. They're like, we have other people coming. My uncle came. He was he had problems with pain meds, but he was sober. And so he had been sober. And so he came as support. My parents were there. And I think one of my sisters, the other one lived far away, and my grandparents. And they confronted me about it. And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. And they were like, we have proof. And they made me take a drug test, which was crazy. Because that was the first one I had taken. Yeah. It was my uncle's idea because he had gone through similar things. And he was like, make her take a drug test. And I was like, this is crazy. This is outrageous. I still did not think I had a problem. Isn't that crazy? I was using needles, buying drugs, and I would have swore up and down that I was not an addict, which is crazy.
Well, I'm like, I think that's how it happens. That's how you get there, is by...
It's pretty common, yeah. And I had not really, I think I had drank like maybe like twice by this point. Like I was just using things that I didn't think were necessarily against the church. They were like a gray area, right? Yeah. And so I wouldn't even been like, I was partying all the time. Like I don't know. It's just crazy how it all happens so gradually, you know? Anyways, so they decided to send me to rehab because I tested positive, and I think at that point I just was like, I want to tell you guys everything because this feeling sucks and I feel depressed and I just like kind of want to die. There was a few times where I was using where I was like, I just like kind of hope that I overdose.
That's so
because
sad.
I just can't deal with this anymore because it really messes with your head, you know? And I don't think that I was ever like suicidal, but definitely in the height of addiction. It's just like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. But I also like, it seems so hard to fix it, you know? But they sent me to rehab. I was there I went to a rehab in Payson, Utah.
Were you like, yes, send
there.
me, or were you kind of hesitant to go, or were you ready?
Well, I think that I still was in denial, and I was just kind of like, I don't feel like I'm an addict that needs rehab. Mm-hmm. But also, I never fought with my parents. It was never like, I can do what I want. It was very like, this is what happened, and I just am tired, mm-hmm. and I'm just like, take care of me, you know, like, yeah. I obviously am not taking care of myself. And I remember them driving me up there and just feeling crappy, just like in the backseat, starting my withdrawal process, which later on I would learn would be the worst withdrawals I've ever gone through. And it is like the movies. It is bad. So I get to rehab. I was there for 3 months. And the first 3 weeks, you don't talk to anybody. You can't talk to your family. You're just like in it, and you're doing like therapy every day.
And is it just activity. Like cold turkey? Like you go cold turkey?
So you can choose. Okay. And that's what I chose because I didn't want to prolong it. I was like, I just want to get it over with. But then like a couple days in, I was like, I wish I wouldn't have done this. But then a few weeks later, people that arrived at the same time as me, watching them have to go through what I had already gone through because they didn't go cold turkey. Basically, they'll put you on a thing called Suboxone and try to slowly lower you. But you withdraw no matter what. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter, you know? It's like, if you're at the risk for like dying or something because you're taking so much, like, yeah, that's a good option so that your body can
adjust.
Yeah, but if you're not at that risk, it's like just prolonging the inevitable, you know?
Mm-hmm. So what was those 3 weeks like where you couldn't talk to anybody?
It was bad. Not like strapped down to like a hospital bed bag, but I was like having crazy delusions, and you can't sit still, but you also feel so gross when you move. I can't really explain. It's a terrible feeling, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But you know, I did it to myself, and I think that having to go through something that hard is like physically is like a good deterrent. It didn't stop me other times, but I feel like getting fully clean was different than going like a week and then using again, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was like probably like 3 or 4 weeks before I felt completely normal.
And was that like such a relief to feel that way?
It was. And being surrounded by people who just get it, and everyone's telling stories about the worst thing that they've done and laughing about it, even though it's not funny, but it's like, we all get it. We've all been there. We've all done crap like that. And you just have to like get it out there and talk to people about it and realize that it's a disease. And, you know, that doesn't condone bad actions, but it also like was helpful for people to be like, it can make you do crazy things, you know? Mm-hmm. But I think that it took me being in rehab for about a month to fully fess up to being an addict, and realizing it in my head. A lot of the people that were there had been using all sorts of crazy, in my mind, pain meds were still not like cocaine or like meth, right? Yeah. Even though it is. And I was using needles, you know, mm-hmm. but it still was not as bad as other people. But I think I had a really awesome counselor there. And and we would have long sessions, and he really like made me see like, oh yeah, normal people don't do this. This is not a thing that people do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So rehab was awesome. After that, I drank a little bit. I stayed sober for a while, and then I think guilt and stuff creeps back in. I remember my parents wanting me to kind of hide. It was kind of hush hush, like mental health stuff.
Like,
still,
don't let anybody know that you're going through this.
Mm-hmm. And it's not their fault, but they just had never gone through it. I think they were kind of trying to protect me too, but they were like, just tell everyone that you were visiting your sister. And I'm like, well, I disappeared for 3 months. So
that's like on the movies, like, oh, they're pregnant, but nope, they're just visiting their aunt on the other side of the country.
Like, I'm going to be gone for 9 months.
Yeah.
But right away, I knew that I wasn't going to do that. I knew that if I wasn't fully honest with anybody and everybody, that it would hurt me. I would not be able to, I would feel guilt, you know? It's like either be honest or don't be honest for me. It was kind of black and white. So I told a lot of people, a lot of my friends and stuff. I was like, hey, listen, this happened. Everyone was really awesome, really supportive about it. But then, you know, I feel like a lot of my friends from high school were partying and drinking, but not, you know, like regular teenagers and stuff. And it wasn't anything crazy, but I did relapse with that a few times. Relapse meaning using substances, because you're supposed to be, if you're an addict, you should be sober from everything.
Like alcohol,
like
and
there's
drugs,
no,
like all.
Yes, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Weed, all of it. You cannot do any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will take that to my grave. Anyone who says, but I can do this, like, no, you cannot. That is not, you can't.
Yeah.
So I was doing other things, you know, kind of like I would like smoke weed every once in a while. I think I was just trying to find something to fill this like guilt that I harbored. I don't think I ever dealt with that and feeling like a super crappy person.
And were you still hanging out with like the same friends that you had originally been hanging out with?
Sometimes. I moved to Utah for a little bit after that and was trying to kind of distance myself from people that I had associated with in Pocatello with drugs and stuff. But when I would come back, it was so tempting to text them or call them.
Like that'd just be really hard.
And there are a few times where I didn't relapse super hard after rehab ever, but there are times where I slipped and used.
If you did, would you be like,
like
oh
I
crap,
was,
like worried that you were going to go full board?
Yeah. I feel like I caught myself a little better than the first time. I think knowing that I was an addict and had a problem. But I still didn't want, I should have told somebody right away, but I was honestly scared to tell my parents because I knew that they would react in a way that I didn't want them to react, I guess.
Were you doing like weekly phone calls with, is it AA with drugs too? Or?
Yeah, I was going to AA meetings. I feel like AA meetings and NA meetings, narcotic anonymous meetings, are helpful, but also they put you in a spot where you are around other people who know how to get drugs and how to use them. So it's kind of slippery. You have to be careful. Because if you hook up with the wrong people and they're having a rough day and you're having a rough day, it's like
bad combination.
A recipe for, talking each other into using just once. I know AA works for a lot of people, and I'll still go once in a while and get a really good message out of it. During the pandemic, I was doing like Skype video meetings. I couldn't think of the word meeting. And that was really awesome because it was like not necessarily people that I knew, but I could relate to them. Yeah. I would join meetings all over the world, which was kind of cool.
That is really interesting.
it was cool to hear different spots, like the East Coast AA meetings compared to like Idaho AA meetings, you know.
Yeah.
It's different. But so I was going to those. Anytime I would slip up, I would go back to those and just try. Eventually I ended up telling my parents that I had messed up a few times, and they reacted how I thought they would, which was not necessarily helpful,
Like
but
panic,
they tried their
or
best.
Like mad?
It was like full on panic, like, you're coming back to live with us and we're taking away everything. They were just scared for me, you know? But I feel like they kind of put me in like isolation a little bit, and that was not good for me because I am a social person, and I feel like talking with people and laughing with people is like a form of therapy for me, you know? So that was hard. They were paying for my phone and stuff, so they had like every right to take it away and all that. Like, why wouldn't you if I'm wasting my money on, you know, bad things? But it was still hard mentally. But I started hanging out with Tyson. You know Tyson? Just like, as we were just like really good friends. And he is hilarious. And my parents really trusted him because he knew my sisters, and he would like come hang out at the house. And I feel like he like saved me during that time. Because I was so depressed and just like I felt alone, and I was like, what direction is my life going? I don't want to go back down this road, but I feel like I'm a piece of crap, and you know. But he like was so awesome just about listening and making me laugh. And one night we were sitting on my parents' couch, and he got a phone call from one of his friends. And she was like, I work at this wilderness therapy place in the mountains of Arizona, and I think you'd be so good for this job. And he was like, well, I like am doing this with my life, but I think Allie would be good for that job. And so I called and interviewed, and I called my sister who had just moved to Arizona and was like, can I live with you for a while? And she was like, yes. And so that's when I started working at a place called Anasazi.
That name sounds really familiar.
So we would take troubled teenagers up into the mountains with basically nothing and teach them how to survive in the mountains of Arizona. And it changed my life.
Ruby Frankie?
Yes.
Was
yes.
that her son? Did he go there? Okay. Yes. I was like, why does that sound so familiar? Yeah.
Don't associate me with...
No.
I'm just kidding. Yes. I actually watched that documentary not too long ago. It was like, no way.
That's crazy, yeah.
I wasn't there with him. But
anyway, but it was a good experience.
Oh, it was amazing.
Are you a wilderness person in general, like before that?
I mean, I liked camping. We grew up camping and all of that stuff, boating, you know. This was like kind of grueling. Some weeks we would hike like 50 miles over mesas, like not on a trail, like you're in the desert. And these kids are like, some of them are going through withdrawal. Some of them are mad because their parents dropped them there and didn't tell them they were going there.
It's crazy.
It's like a rehab, right? Yeah. Some of these kids are bougie. They're so mad that they're like
thrown in the wilderness,
sleeping in the dirt. Yeah. So it was hard, but the thing they teach there is natural consequences. There's no like, well, you're grounded, or I'm taking away all your electronics or stuff like that. It's more like, well, if you're not going to hike, we're not going to get to food and you're not going to eat. Or, you know, like if you don't make your shelter right, like we taught you, then you're going to get rained on tonight and be cold. Just very basic, like, and I feel like for an addict, that is a huge tool to be able to like strip everything away and just be like, I just need to live my life so simple with these natural consequences, you know?
Yeah.
So living in that environment, I worked there for like almost 2 years, was amazing. It was very spiritual. The two people that started it at BYU. So it's like, it's not like a Mormon program, but their beliefs are very like, one of them's Native American. And so it's like that and kind of Mormonism infused, like spirituality wise. They would like, you know, talk about the creator and like praying and having a relationship with him. And I feel like I identified, is that the right word? More with that than I did with like how AA talks about having like a spiritual being or something to like gravitate towards, you know? Mm-hmm. I feel like I learned more just kind of being with God in the wilderness, I guess. Yeah. It just made more sense to me. So I feel like I built a really good relationship with my God there, and started feeling less guilty, and being able to talk to these teenagers that are going through something that I went through, and kind of seeing where I started versus where I'm at now, and also telling them, listen, you can change your life. You don't need to feel guilty. Like it made me not want to be hypocritical, right? Yeah. Like I don't need to feel guilty either. I can move on with my life and help people who struggle with this. And that can be why I went through it, you know, and why I used, and I can put all my energy into that, you know? Mm-hmm. And I met my husband there. We started dating. He was also working there.
Oh, he was?
And he dazzled me with making fire with sticks before I could.
So sexy.
So that's where we started dating. And I feel like I think it was like the second night we hung out. He's like, why do you work here? And I was like, oh, let me tell you everything. Mm-hmm. And I told him everything, and he didn't even bat an eye. He was just like, well, I'm glad you're here now, you know? And that was really encouraging for me to... I seriously, there was times where I was like, I will never be good enough for anybody to marry, you know? I'm never... Like, I'll just like dedicate my life to working with people who have addiction, and then just like not worry about relationships, because I just felt so unworthy, you know? And I think culture in Idaho, past boyfriends, made me feel that way, you know? Yeah. Plus all the guilt, but
he
anyways,
was easy to fall in love with then, because he was like, oh, okay. Like it was nothing.
Yeah. And when I first met him, I was like, where are you from? And he was like, I'm from this small town in Washington. And he's like, nobody ever knows it. And I was like, what is it? You know, and he said Moses Lake. And that's where all my cousins live.
Oh, really?
My dad grew up in the town over. Come to find out, my dad went to high school with his dad.
That's so funny.
And some of his cousins like were visiting teachers for like my grandma. It just seemed it wasn't a coincidence. Yeah. I feel like that he was there at the same time as me. And our families kind of meshed together, and yeah. So that was like a big bonding moment for us, because, you know, how can it not be when our lives are intertwined without us even knowing it? So it was pretty cool.
What was childbirth like? Like after you had your kids, did you do pain meds after that?
Okay. So for me, I had to accept that I will never be able to have them, and I don't want to have them by myself. If there's ever a point, like I got no surgery a while ago. With Scout, I took pain meds, but with the rest of them, I did not. I just give them to Tyson.
And he'll distribute them to you.
Mm-hmm. If he has to go to work, then He gives me, you know, like the 2 or whatever, 1 that I need while he's gone. And he's really awesome about it. It was really hard for me to be like, this is what I need from you. Because it seems like I'm a child, you know, like,
Yeah.
hand me my stuff. But it's not. It's just, that's what you do. There's no world where I need to handle that stuff anymore, you know? And I think it's just safer that way. He's had some surgeries, and just knowing that I have stuff in the house is hard. It gives me anxiety. I don't feel like I've been like, I want to use that, but I just don't even want to be around it, you know? If I'm at the point, if there was like some on the table, I would be able to be like, no, but like, how many times could I do that? You know, like how many times could you be like, no, I don't need that. I'm like in a good spot, until you're like, have that bad day, you know? So I'm like a huge believer of like, don't ever have this in your house, no matter who you are, you know? Because you never know who will be over there. There was times where I was at friend's house and took stuff from their medicine cabinet, which I hate saying that out loud, but it's
just how it was.
You know, I'm like, they're not going to miss this. And it's stealing. Like, it's straight up stealing, you know? And you try to justify it. And I don't know. I just feel like it's better that you don't have it in your house. When I go visit my sisters, I tell them, if there's anything in your house, take it and put it in your office or something, because I just don't even want to be. They're really awesome, supportive about it. But I just don't want to be anywhere near it ever. You know? I just feel like the more precaution I can take, then I'll stay sober.
Do you ever have days that are like really hard where you think about that? Or are you doing, for the most part, are you doing pretty well right now?
So there was this time where it was after I had my son, Livingston. And I think, looking back, I'm not sure if it was postpartum. We were living in Hawaii. And we got, do you remember the false missile alert that happened?
Yeah, you had posted something on that about your social media, like at some point, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I never thought about how scary that would have been. Like, terrifying.
So we got that missile alert, and they didn't really tell us, it was false for 20 minutes, so everyone thought it was real. And we were like, to the point where we were discussing, like, do we call our families and tell them goodbye? I feel like for at least like 15 minutes of that 20 minutes, we were like, this is it. We're going to die, you know? And I had my 2 small kids, and it was super scary. And that switched something in my brain, where my anxiety went through the roof, and I was having panic attacks. And I think a lot of people go through this that have really bad anxiety. I thought something medically was wrong with me, like my heart or my brain. Like, I was like, I'm gonna die, something's wrong, my heart is racing, you know, like I'm having a heart attack. And so I went and did a bunch of testing over like a year. I did like heart tests and brain tests, and I went to the ER a bunch in the middle of the night. They were like, girl, you just have anxiety.
It can't just be anxiety. I'm dying.
I know. I'm like, no. So I got on anxiety meds, but there was a few times in there where I thought drinking alcohol would help my anxiety. Spoiler alert, it makes it way worse. And so there was a few times where that was like, I just need something to take away this anxiousness, you know? But it didn't help, obviously. And I feel like in those times where I was drinking, that's the biggest times in my life after being sober from drugs that I wanted to use, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, but other than that, I feel like it's easy to switch it just like that and to be like, oh, yep, I'm going to be in it again, you know? But for now, I feel like I'm so far removed and in such a good place. And I have my kids, and I think that's a big motivation. That it makes me want to throw up thinking about it. Yeah. So.
Well, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, you and I like hung around the same people, but
We did.
I don't know if I ever even talked to you before before this,
I know.
which is weird.
Yeah.
But I never would have thought, like, you know, you just don't really know anything that anybody is going through. And it's just
Yeah,
like
you don't. Why
thing.
would you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's its own little world too in Pocatello. I don't know if it's still like that, but
yeah, probably. I don't know.
There is a decent amount of people that I was using with that have died too, have overdosed.
Like from
and
Pocatello?
I think that the majority of them were people who didn't move away, who just stayed. Mm-hmm. I feel like I would not be sober if I stayed where everybody was that I was using with, and like, you know where to look for it and stuff. I don't think there's any way.
I think it's just so easy to fall into old habits when you're surrounded by them.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Especially when you're having a bad day and stuff. Yeah. And the thing about it too is, there were people I knew that were sober for years and just had to slip up and took the amount that they would have taken while they were using, but they had been sober for so long that they just overdosed because it was too big of a dose, I really hate that for people who see it from the outside looking in, like, this person overdosed. And like, you don't realize how hard they were trying, Mm-hmm. That's one thing I really hate about addiction is
how it can be perceived.
It looks slimy from the outside. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's so much more than that.
I think it's really cool though that you share about it and you're so open about it. Like, when they'll just post on your Instagram, just like random things, how you felt that day or whatever. I'm like, this is just really cool. And even as somebody that doesn't struggle with it, it just like makes me really proud. And I'm like, I know that there's probably somebody that sees it and like it touches them,
Thank you. That's nice of you to say. Yeah, I've had people message me asking for advice. The majority of people who reach out to me though are like parents and siblings of people who are struggling, and I think that's so cool that they're like trying hard enough to understand what's going on, that they reach out to me and can be like, look for a different perspective, I guess. And that's like my favorite thing. Not that they're struggling, but
that you can
just
talk
that
to
I
them
can
about
be like, that. Yeah, it's nice to have like an inside perspective for people who are like loving and just trying so hard.
Do you get that fairly often?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say like fairly often, but enough that it has kept me being like, I'm still going to post about this and talk about it. And I think it's important that people remember that people go through this even when they've been sober for years, Mm-hmm. And eventually when my kids are old enough, I want to tell them everything that I can, because addiction runs in my family, I have like aunts and uncles and grandparents who have struggled, and like, hopefully my kids don't have to go through that, but I want them to know that it's a thing, and that you have to be careful. And
like, does Scout know anything right now? Because she's getting a little older.
She knows. I've talked to her a lot about my anxiety mm-hmm. and feeling depressed. I haven't talked to her about drugs yet. It's kind of hard to know. I don't feel like drugs are in her world yet, besides like DARE, Yeah. And so when I say drugs are in her world, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, like, I do.
Not even on her radar. We have talked about alcohol. Alcohol is like a big cultural thing in the military. So we talk about how we just like don't really do that, and because it can form an addiction. So I guess I have talked to her about that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But nothing in depth, but I will. And I want to, and I feel like I'll know, hopefully, when she's old enough that I can be like, listen, like this, we're going to talk about this because it's important. I feel like growing up in the church, you're just kind of told, at least I was, just like, keep the word of wisdom. Don't drink. But why? Right? Like, why don't we drink? Why don't we smoke? Why? And it was like health reasons, but that's like not everything, and I just want her to know it all. I want her to know that it can lead to this, and all my kids, because it's important to me. I don't want them to go through it. And if they do go through it, I want them to be able to come and be like, this is happening, and I can be like, okay, let's figure it out together. I feel like I obviously have a problem with everything. Like I said, every substance, right? Like there's no limits. Like it's hard to set limits. But my main thing was pain meds. I always think about the people who really struggle with alcohol and how it's just everywhere. And I'm like, that's got to be so hard to just every store you walk in. Like, even for me, I notice it, right? I notice if there's alcohol in a store or not, but it's not the same as if like I went into a store and they were selling pain meds on the shelves, it's like different.
Yeah. There's like aisles and aisles, and every restaurant you go to, they'll hand you the drink menu.
Everywhere. Yes. And it would be so easy to buy it and like sneak it if you're, I don't know, it makes me feel so bad I wish it wasn't a thing,
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on here and sharing this, I think.
Yeah, I need to listen to other podcasts. I'm sorry that I haven't yet.
No.
But I will.
Fine. I don't know if a single person will listen, but I'm kind of more doing this for myself. And if people listen, that's great.
Yeah.
So
how long have you been doing it?
2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
You seem like an asshole.
Well, I did some, like I recorded my first one, I think in like November, and I just couldn't get myself to actually like do it because it was intimidating. But
also, anytime I think about you or see you on social media, I always think about Johnny's house. So random.
We were probably there at some point together.
Like, yeah, I think it's you, but it's like the people, right?
Good
It's
old
the
Johnny,
only time I ever think of him.
Which I have not talked to Johnny in long time. I really don't talk to anybody from high school anymore, which it's kind of sad and weird, but
yeah, I have like a group of like 4 people that we're like in a group chat and we send memes. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, I feel like I had to distance myself from Pocatello and everybody in it,
Oh yeah.
Even when I go back to visit my parents, which isn't super often, the whole time I'm there, I'm just kind of like looking over my shoulder, like, who am I going to run into? And I don't know.
Well, I also have to say, I love your Instagram stories. I laugh at everything. I'm like, Allie's posts, just they keep my humor in the day. I'm like, I don't know where you find them all, but they're so funny.
My algorithm, man.
It's good.
I spend too much time on memes, but man, sometimes I'm just laughing so hard by myself. I'm like, yeah.
Well, and then I'll laugh too. So you're keeping the humor in my life.
I'll know that you're laughing too. So I'm not a loser.
I'm like, I want to be posting that too. I'm like, other people might enjoy that, but I'm like, I don't find them. You find them, and they're just so funny.
Well, you can. They're not mine. I steal them from people. But
well, it was good talking to you, Allie.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a long time since I've talked about. I don't know if I've ever gone through like chronological order of like
start to finish. Well, not finish, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think that I have, so it's probably rough, but
oh no,
it's just interesting reflecting on it all and just yeah, I've come far. I've come a long ways.
Yeah. Well, I'm impressed by you.
Good.
It's hard.
Thank you.
Okay, well, you have a great night.
You too.
And we'll talk to you soon. I'll be seeing your Instagram post, so I know that.
All right, we'll keep in touch now.
Yeah,
we will. Yes. This was fun.
It was fun. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you.
Bye, Allie. Okay.
Bye.
All right, you guys. I don't know if you picked it up, but when Allie and I were talking about different drinks, I had asked her if the water in London was gross. She said it was, but that is because Allie is currently living in London, which I just think is really cool. London is on my bucket list of places that I would like to visit one day, so one day I will go there. But I just have to say, I think that technology is so cool because even though she lives in London right now, we were able to have this conversation across the world about what she has experienced. And I just am really grateful for that. I just really loved the conversation with Allie. And I know that I already said this, but it did make me kind of sad that I'm like, we could have known each other, interacted with each other, and I could have known how cool Allie was before now. But also, can I just mention, I don't know if you guys liked it as much as I did, but I just thought Allie's laugh was so fun and contagious, and she really is just so funny. When I talk about her posting on Instagram, she really does post gold in her stories, constant memes. Every single one of them, I swear, gets me laughing, and I just don't know where she finds them all. So we're thankful for Allie and the humor that she provides. At least I am. And I am also grateful for Allie for the insights that she provided, that she's able to help people, that she's open with her journey and struggles so that people can reach out to her if they're going through the same things, or if they are struggling with a family member and not knowing how to help them through their struggles. So I just think she's really cool. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I will see you here again next week for another episode of the Sippin' on Stories podcast. Bye, you guys.